Hi students, and welcome to the video Understanding the Quiz Project. This video will help you understand the next major assignment in the course. First of all, everything that I'm going to be covering today is located in the Major Assignments folder on the course site. So all the instructions, everything we're covering is located in that folder. If you open up the Major Assignments folder, you'll see the Quiz Project folder directly below the Formative Assessment assignment. Go ahead and open the Quiz Project folder, and then we'll see what's in there. So you'll see a number of items in the Quiz Project folder. The first item is the instructions and the grading rubric. That's what you'll be seeing today. But you can also see the link for this video. You can see the website to test the Flesch Kincaid. You can see the link to submit. Let's take a look at the instructions for the assignment. First of all, this project is due on November 11th and it's worth 15% of your grade. The purpose of the project is to learn how to make a good quiz for your class. You're going to design a quiz. You can't, we'll get into the specifics later, but the first thing you need to know is that your quiz must be at a second grade level or higher. So if you're early childhood, you need to do second grade, not a first grade, not a preschool. And the reason for that is that we want kids to be able to read before we give them written quizzes. It's not developmentally appropriate for very young students. You can use internet sources or AI help you develop the quiz, but if you do so, the items may not follow the best practices that we are going to cover in class, or they may not be aligned with your standard and learning targets. So you have to be responsible to make sure you're turning in quiz items that are aligned with your standard, your learning target, and follow best practices. Please, please, please do the work on this template. I keep getting work done just without the template, and almost inevitably when you do that, you miss parts of the assignment. So just download the template, do your work right on it, and then you probably won't miss anything in the assignment. The first thing you're going to need to do is pick out a standard, and then tell me what grade level and what subject area it is. You're going to write the standard under number 2, write it out the entirety, don't just put a number. Write out standard 8.2.1 and then give the wording of the standard, for example. Then you're going to start a learning target. This time I'm asking for a learning target and not an objective. Remember that a learning target has a target for accuracy with 80% accuracy, for example, or 4 out of 5 times. If you give me a learning objective, that will be wrong if it doesn't have a learning target attached to the end. Then you're going to create a 15-item quiz that aligns with your standard and learning target. And it has to be certain types of items. I need 10 multiple choice, 3 binary, those are true, false, fact, opinion, anything that has 2 answers. And so usually that's like true, false. A matching with 4 or more premises. And if you don't recall what premises are, you can look it up in the textbook or look at the essay. Or look at the lecture, and a constructed response, something that's short answer or essay. I've given you the tip sheet in the learning modules, tips for creating good selected response questions and tips for creating good constructed response questions. So don't forget to use those tips, because a big part of this is whether you follow the tips. So once you have your standard, your learning target, and your aligned quiz, remember aligned means that it will assess your learning target, and your learning target is aligned with your standard. Everything should be aligned. Once you have those, you're going to write the quiz on this work template on the following page. So you can see where it says quiz start here. Just use as many pages as you need. You don't want to forget to put on your quiz a title for your quiz, maybe a place for students to write their names, and the directions for each section of the quiz. So you don't put a set of questions without saying how to respond. Be sure to keep all the questions of the same type together. So all the multiple choice questions go together, all the true false questions go together, etc. You're going to run a Flesch-Kincaid reading level only on the quiz. So think about what students would actually see in this assignment. On the quiz itself, you're going to copy and paste that into the Flesch-Kincaid window that's in the folder, in the major assignments quiz folder, and see what the reading level is. Your reading level for the quiz should be no more than plus or minus 1 grade up from your student's grade level. So for example, if you're targeting second grade, it could be anywhere from first grade to third grade, but no higher than third grade. It's okay if it's lower, but it can't be higher than that. So that's the reading level. And then you're going to take your quiz once you've adjusted it and gotten the reading level right for the age. Then you're going to pilot it. So here's where you need to find a volunteer, someone who's age appropriate to take your quiz. So if your quiz is for a 7th grade, find somewhere in around 7th grade to take your quiz. If you're doing a 2nd grade, find a 2nd grader to take your quiz, and give the child a quiz. When you're giving him the quiz, asking him, what did you find easy? What did you find difficult? And what could I change to make the quiz better? Then on this sheet, you're going to answer the following questions. Who took your quiz? How old were they? What did they find easy? What did they find difficult? What suggestions did they make to improve the quiz? And did you make any modifications? If so, what did you do? So let's say, for example, you found that a question was confusing to a student. Well, before you turn it in, you can revise that question, and you could say, originally I had question number 8 worded this way, but I revised it to word it this way because the student found it confusing. Or you might find that despite the reading level being around where it needed to be, maybe the student was having trouble reading some of the questions. So you might say, I adjusted the wording to make it a lower grade level, to make it easier. So say what you did based on your students' suggestions. Then write a deep and meaningful reflection that includes all of the following. What lessons you learned, what takeaways did you do for what did you take away from this assignment for classroom practice? What surprised you? What challenged you? What did you like? Some students find it beneficial to write a little of this section, think about it for a while, and then come back and write it some more. This is more than a conclusion. It shouldn't just be a summary of what you did. It should be, what did you take away from it? What did you learn? Use the questions here to guide you. Now, a special note, some students find it helpful to turn in both a Word document and a PDF file for this assignment. You're required to turn in the Word document, but sometimes format changes in the Word file, and the PDF file will preserve your formatting. So if you're worried about how the format looks, turn in both of those, and then if I have a question about formatting, I'll go to the PDF version. You're required to turn in a Word, but some people like to turn in a PDF as well. Some strategies for success: start with an appropriate standard. Write your learning target to align with the standards and decide how to assess those learning targets. You shouldn't have more than 1 or 2 learning targets, by the way. You can perfectly well have 1. Remember that they all must be aligned and they must measure the same content, knowledge, or skills. Use best practices, and those are found in the tip sheets. Take your test yourself. Sometimes you find errors by doing this. Have your peers look it over for validity, grammar, spelling. Don't wait until the last minute. Creating a strong quiz or test takes time, concentration, and practice. Let's go over the grading scale for this assignment. This is a 15-point grading scale. 3 of the points are for your quiz items. So are the items clearly written? Is there a title and a subheading? So what that means is you want to title your quiz, math quiz for 4th grade or math quiz on decimals, for example. You want to have subheadings every time your format changes. So multiple choice items, true, false items. Give directions for each section of the items. You have to tell students what they need to do. You can't just assume that they know how to fill out a multiple choice items. You have to give students directions for how to fill out true false items. What do you want them to do? For example, write T on the blank in the blank if the statement is true, write F if it's false. And then, do you have all the right and appropriate number of items? 10 multiple choice, 3 binary, 1 matching with 4 or more premises, and a constructed response. Also, give me an answer key. The answer key can be, you can just highlight the answers to, for example, the multiple choice and the true false, or you can provide a complete answer key at the end, separate from the quiz. But somewhere you have to indicate the answers. 2 of the points is for whether you've indicated the grade level, the subject area, the standard and learning target, whether the learning target has a target for success, and they're all aligned. 2 points for the quality of the items. So did you use plausible distractors? Did you use correct grammar? Was it appropriate for the grade level? Did you order multiple choices responses appropriately? And for that, you need to look in the tip sheet to see how that's done. And did you align everything with the standard and learning target? 2 points for the reading level. Did you copy and paste the Flesch-Kincaid reading level in the for the quiz items, and was it appropriate, no higher than 1 grade level above the grade level of the standard? 3 points for layout. This is providing clear instructions, aligning everything so it's not all over the page, providing ample space and lines for students to answer questions, using visually appealing spacing on the page, using age-appropriate font size. So if you're doing like a high school quiz, it's perfectly fine to use a type. I would use a simple font like Times New Roman or Arial, size 12. But if you're doing a 2nd grade quiz, I wouldn't go much below a 14 or a 16 size fonts. Whether you gave it to a pilot and the questions were answered, and whether you wrote a deep and meaningful reflection. These all add up to 15 points, which will be 15 of the 100 course points for your grade. That's it. Any questions, please feel free to email me. Good luck and thank you.